welcome to the Daily BA. My name is Ryan O. I am your host, Monday through Friday content for behavior analysts by a behavior analyst. Today we have the essentials of ACT and RFT. Now, acceptance and commitment therapy, it is said as one word, know that. Now, relational frame theory, abbreviated RFT, that is its underlying counterpart, and they were built both simultaneously side by side. So there is not a perfect connection between the two. That is something that's often thought, but it is something that is being sorted out as we speak, and it'll continue to be sorted out, refined. With that said, it relies on an area of philosophy that they call functional contextualism. Now, this whole thing is called contextual behavioral science, and they talk about it as this reticulated model, and that is everything's connected, moving, and constantly adapting. The parts are all dynamic, and they're building it as they go. I like that because philosophical doubt teaches us that as new data comes to light, you alter your models and such, and since these were both built simultaneously, they are being altered as we speak. Now, there are a lot of acceptance and commitment therapy books out there and resources, and the data on the various different articles are bountiful as well. And so people often ask, where do I start? And I don't think there's data on a perfect place to start. I do think it comes down to your history. Here's some tips, tricks that have been useful for me when it comes to relational frame theory and ACT and how I was taught to consume and read and understand it. So, first of all, we're gonna go in the order in which I discovered and learned these myself. And so first, Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. This is a book, you'll notice that Stephen C. Hayes wrote it, but it was with Spencer Smith. That is, there was someone that helped him interpret how to write this for a lay audience. So this is for the everyday person. It is a workbook you can go through. And the goal here is that they are going to help you overcome depression, transform emotional pain, free yourself from negative thinking and self-judgment, and commit to what you care about and live the life that you value. And can't guarantee that it's going to do this for you, but what I can say is this is a workbook that did help me when it came to grad school and understanding what it was that ACT was really trying to get at. And so I found this my first year in graduate school, actually, and it was a time where I said yes to everything. I was gonna take every possible opportunity, squeeze everything that I possibly could out of my opportunity at Florida Institute of Technology. And so with all those yeses came a lot of stress. Now, it was nothing that crippling, I will say, but there were some tools in here that were very useful for me to just start to play around with and think about and try and collect some data on. And there's some that I still use to this day. Cool thing about this is there's a public resource called the ACT for the Public listserv. It is under the Association of Contextual Behavioral Science, and you can connect with the author, with Stephen C. Hayes himself and other really well-trained practitioners, and talk about how this applies to your own life, either anonymously or with your own real name. You'll see it is very workbook-like. You're gonna have to pick it up. It's about 10 bucks, not too bad. And I'd show you more, but it's got a lot of my personal life in it. Now, the next one that I ran into was this one, Learning RFT. Now, Learning RFT, you'll notice here, written by an MD, and there's a foreword by Dermot. Now, Dermot Barnes-Holmes, probably the most prolific RFT researcher that's out there. Steve Hayes himself credits Dermot with really doing a lot of the backbreaking work when it comes to the research lines there. Now, that said, I will say that was the early research lines. There's a lot of people doing a lot of really cool research in these areas. Not that it's perfect, but back to the book. So, Learning RFT, this is your primer, your primer on an introduction to RFT and its clinical applications. We just talked about Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. That is a very good tool for understanding and experiencing how ACT can be packaged into a book that you can read and work through. This is more for the curious practitioner, someone that's trying to understand really what it is that RFT posits and the implications of using it in a clinical practice. And so it is a little outdated in 2010, but I think it's still a comprehensive resource. I still suggest it as the first touch point for RFT weekly, if not daily. And so you'll see there's a background. They talk about it in relation to radical behaviorism. So on this channel, I've talked about how I think radical behaviorism is a really cool, historical, and solid place to start, but not nearly as solid as functional contextualism. And they jump straight into those sort of things. Now, he also contrasts where Skinner's verbal behavior may have some limitations and why RFT is actually offered. And that moves into how to understand what relational learning is, and the last part being the clinical implications and what it is that you could actually do or possibly do with something like acceptance and commitment therapy. Boom. Now, next one that I ran across after that was the purple book, Relational Frame Theory, a post-Skinnerian. Dun, dun, dun. People do not like that. People do not like that being said. So it's a post-Skinnerian account of human language and cognition. Now you'll notice this is an edited book, so there's a lot more people involved. Steve Hayes, Barnes Holmes, and Roach were the three authors that primarily edited this book. Now, this book was written in 2001. This book was written in 2001. I love this page to the memory of B.F. Skinner and J.R. Cantor. Cantor will be on this channel. He's not talked about nearly enough. He pays homage to them, approaching human language and cognition in this natural science sort of way. Now you'll notice here, December 2000, in Reno, Nevada. The thing about this book is they look at the basic account, stimulus relations, how responding and verbal behavior and the philosophy underlying it has some weaknesses in their perspective of Skinner's approach to it in radical behaviorism, and his book, Verbal Behavior, and how they look at it a little bit differently. Now in this book, they jump into the nitty-gritty. It is extremely technical. It is not going to be a pick-up, easy read, but it is a very, very, very good condensed version that allows you to not have to go search around dozens of other books like the Context Press series that I've referenced before. You can catch it all in one. It's definitely one of those books where I'd say read it with a group of people. Most likely it's not something you're gonna be able to pick up and just knock out very quickly. It's gonna take a little bit of reading and chatting about and really synthesizing and understanding the information. The implications are pretty cool. We'll be doing a whole series just on relational frame theory at some point. And the last one, this book, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, there is a 2002 edition. I picked the 1999 edition because it is my favorite. It is strictly an opinion. The 2012 is more fleshed out, and it's something that you're going to see. You will see the matrix, that hexaflex walked out much more in the 2012 edition. However, this one is the OG. It is the one by Hayes, Strassel, and Wilson. It is where it all started. It is the coming together of this approach, this third wave cognitive behavioral approach, as they call it. And so I mentioned 1999 is when this was published. It gets back into the heart and soul of behavior analysis. And I don't mean that in a dualistic sort of way. That is, they're trying to get back at the root of human cognition and language and really dive into emotions and understand how do we bring behavior analysis into a clinical setting. The first and last chapter of this book are two of my favorite chapters in all of behavior analysis. They are the ones that actually give me goosebumps when I think about them. It's just amazing the implications that could arise from looking at language this way. Probably my favorite thing when it comes to acceptance, commitment therapy, and relational frame theory is their focus on values. So they're saying values are those things that you can't have and hold. Health is a good example. I can't hold and say, here is my health, but I can do a lot of things that are health-based. And that is, I can hit a lot of health-based goals, and I can do a lot of health-based actions. And the idea is that those actions are in line with your goals, and then those goals are in line with your values. And lining those things up is the way to experiencing the world and really enjoying fulfillment in it. It's not going to say that it's perfect. It is not perfect, but it is a way to really enjoy life and the curveballs that you're thrown as well at the same time. And so each of these had very significant shaping of my own repertoire. You can go out there, you can learn about it. There are various training situations. The ACT bootcamp model is one that I've talked about on here before. I very much enjoyed it. I've been for a few years. They now have targeted ones just for behavior analysts, so maybe you check those out as well. I'm curious, what are your favorites? I'm gonna be diving into these. Which ones did you like? Which ones did you not like? Is there anything that I missed? I know that there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of ACT books themselves, ACT for depression, ACT for this, ACT for that. And so I'm not gonna be able to cover them all, but these ones here I will be diving into a little bit more depth. So please let me know in the comments below. And so if you enjoyed that, please do me a favor, hit the like button, share it if you're interested in that sort of stuff, subscribe if you aren't already, and please come back tomorrow, check out a little bit more, because this is your Daily BA.